Hey, 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 welcome back to the Scorpio channel. My name is Laura. If you're new to the channel, I'm going to do a general message for Scorpio. God, I look crazy. It's running around from the Florida humidity. You forget to look in the mirror, and then all of a sudden you can see yourself, and it's like, oh my God, I'm scary looking. Anyway, long time no see. Thank you so much for all your likes, shares, and subscribes, and thank you for your warm wishes. And I want to say, I don't even want to say wishes, but your prayers, your happy thoughts. Being that I was going through a really difficult time, my husband was in hospice. He just passed away on Thursday. I'm happy that he's at peace. I'm sad that he's gone. I'm trying to stay busy, which hence why I look crazy. But I'm here for you guys today. So if you're new to my channel, know that I like to go deep within my readings. So the readings are always a bit longer just because we take the time to not just look at what goes on the surface, which is what your person did, what they're going to do. We look at why they're doing what they're doing and why you're attracting that person and what you need to do to break the karmic cycle. See, these are shadow readings. So I look at the spiritual blocks of shadows, see how they play out as karmic themes within your experiences, kind of like a therapy vibe. Why? Because there's many different realities that play it at one time. Your level of consciousness is going to determine what you manifest. So we always want to manifest what's best for us, right? And what's best for us is when we are at the highest vibration, it's of unconditional love. The shadows are parts that we have detached from, that we've disassociated from. And a lot of times we're no longer available. Listen to me. We're not, hey, hey, Monica. Thank you for coming on. Thank you. I look crazy. I just don't mind how I look. I just got back behind this and I said, wow, I look scary. But it's really hot here. It's really humid and I've been trying to stay busy. I want to thank everyone for all their support. Again, I really appreciate you guys. And so I was just saying to the newbies that this channel is different because it's not just about what's going to happen. We want to know why things happen because if we don't heal, we keep attracting the same types of people and situations and experiences that keep us in a place of limitation. Hello, boss. Thanks for joining. So let's see what the underlining energy of the video is. By the way, if you want to enter into winning free reading, I will be on every night or almost every night between this channel, the Virgo channel, the Gemini channel. I'm trying to really just keep myself busy because I knew the time would come when I would have to transmute the negative energy that comes from the death of my husband, right? I mean, can't sit around crying all day long, even though believe me, that's like you don't feel like doing shit. You know, I'm saying I'm running around. To be honest with you, I haven't combed my hair today. I just didn't feel like it. Oh, but I know I have to push on the best way that I can, right? And so I thank everybody for their support. Ooh, let's not cry. Okay, let's see what the underlining energy is. The underlining energy is knowledge, wisdom. See, this card always intuitively, it's like, what is that wisdom? Well, it's the higher wisdom. Thank you. Thank you, Monica. And when I'm talking about the higher wisdom, I'm talking about it's a knowing, it's claircognizance. I don't know how I know that. That's because that's the spirit inside of you knows. Your subconscious mind knows everything, can predict the future. However, our ego gets in the way. So I feel like you're in connection to someone that knows that you're a soulmate, but is going to sit there and pretend that you're not. Like it's again because they don't want to seem weak. They don't want to seem vulnerable. They don't want to seem like they believe in this kind of stuff. So, but that wisdom and that knowledge is undeniable. And so I'm kind of feeling like somebody's been holding back from you for a while and they thought you were going to cave, and that's not what's happening. So again, the ego is taking over, but the underlining energy is knowledge and wisdom. And what's good about this is when the divine is involved, it means, I don't know, I just like this person, but I really shouldn't like this person at all. And they piss me off. They get underneath my skin. And it should actually be a good thing that they're not here. But it's like, I'm sad that they're not here. So there's a lot of like conflicting energy. And that's because the divine has brought you two together. And you might say it's not, doesn't feel like it. Well, if it's pissing you off and the person's acting like an asshole, well, believe me, it is, because nothing should be able to make you feel uncomfortable. Now, that doesn't mean that that person like shouldn't make you feel bad if they're disrespecting you. But if you're giving your attention and there's so much, like you're like, wow, you're really fucking bothering me, that means that there's not enough of another life. And so I kind of feel like both parties were like that, but not any longer for you, Scorpio. You've gotten to the point where you're like, fuck this, I will take that saw and I will saw it myself, because I don't want to be stuck in this place of limbo. I don't want it. And and I feel like this person knows, again, because there's this ESP connection with the soulmate. That's how there's this knowing. And so this person knows that you're about to like cut the cord. You're like, like, you know what? You've been out of my life for so long, I don't even give a shit. It's like I'm over it. That's what happens after a while, because Scorpios will give and 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 give until they're like, you know what? I'm not giving you shit. I'm gonna sting your fucking head off. You're gonna come with that close, and it's like, and it's just because you push me to that point. It's like you never know when you're gonna snap either. That's what's crazy. So it's like, I don't know, anything can go. I don't trust myself actually anymore. It's like, and that's because this person has brought you to a place. And that's part of what they do psychologically. I feel like they play games because this person's a master of avoiding their emotions. Perfectionist. Again, I feel like this person pretends to be perfect, but why do you always meet people with, oh, all right? Well, it's again, that's because there's a sense of emotionally not ever getting what you want. So emotionally abandoned is that trauma. And again, when it keeps playing out, it means that you're not giving yourself what you need. That's why. Emotionally abandoned. Someone's always picking someone else over me. That's the karmic theme. And Spirit says, are you showing up for you? And by the way, you see I'm doing a reading. So that's why. So perfectionist. So it's that, this person pretends to be perfect. I'm only kidding. I love you, nature. I just want you to know. And so, but perfectionist is, like if a person acts like they're very egotistical and hides behind material things, pretends that they have more than they actually do. But their way is to give you less in hopes that you'll give more, want to be perfect for them. Now, that only happens when there's shame. And there might have been shame where I feel like you might have shared stuff with this person, or they might have intuitively picked stuff up, and because they're able to read. It's not that this person doesn't intuitively be able to tap into that. They use it for to control. They use it to strategize. They don't use their intuition to actually come from the higher self. And the higher self is the God part of self. So when we're talking about good and evil, we're always talking about the different levels of consciousness. So when we see those shadows, it means that person's always coming from a lower character, which is a survival reptilian mind, which in relationships, that's not how we're supposed to come at people. We're supposed to come at people from our truth. And I feel like this person like tries to play a lot of games. They're very imbalanced. They're very imbalanced because they have trauma, but every relationship is going to be like that. They're like just very, very imbalanced. And that's because if you're always strategizing, the person's always strategizing, you don't feel safe. They're not emotionally connecting with you. They're connecting with you more like through like fear. And so, but the thing is, this person misjudged you. They thought you were weaker than you actually were. You got to a place of like, again, disgust. And in that, I feel like you flipped the switch and now they're insecure. So again, that's what happens when you have a person that's really insecure, but then they overcompensate by acting like they're perfect, hiding behind material things, and then again, gaslighting and strategizing to get what they want. So the problem with that is then the focus is always on them. It's always on the relationship. It becomes very draining, and it's all because this person doesn't feel like they really fit in. Again, and that again happens just from a lot of times from your environment that you grow up in. You know, you have trauma. I feel like this person has a lot of trauma. See, that's crazy, but that means that you were meant to hear this. Now, it's again, they always need attention. So, which means that any little attention, by the way, anything's happening for you, you're not you're going to be fighting this person for attention because it's again, they're not going to be able to deal with you getting attention. This person does what they do to get attention and without having to give. Now, if attention's on you, then like I said, they're going to always be triggered because again, there's coming from a place of lack and shame. So they want to wear that mask. They don't want to come from the true self because they don't like that true self. So again, there's going to be a lot of arrogance for them to really try to make you think something. But in that, they never got close to you, and you're an emotional being. I'm so glad, Slick Rick and Catalina. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So this person really, like you said, wanted to, like, always wants the spotlight. So I just feel like it created a whole survival scenario for you where you're then, like I said, if you can't be grounded then. If you're always up in your mind, which is what this person wants. They don't want to give you anything. So they need you to be subservient to them, which is very, like I said, narcissistic. And I don't even know if they know that they do that consciously. There's a sense of not feeling secure. So again, coming on as one person, but really being somebody else. So, and then them, like, I feel like they would kind of detach and disassociate. So they might have been there if you hung out with them, but they weren't there, meaning you felt like they were sitting there physically, but emotionally they weren't there mentally. And I feel like you always kind of felt like, thank you so much, that Slick Rick, that, you know, the dry spell is that it's like always being like, I just feel like this person would use sex too as a way to manipulate. I also feel like, you know, emotionally, you felt like this person checked out. So you're like, why would I don't even feel safe to have that intimacy connection. See, intimacy is really based on trust. And this person did a lot of stuff to affect trust, right? So what would happen again, it ruins the intimacy, which is why, again, this person was talking to other people. They will always, don't mind that thing. I wanted to give you a like too. I just can't while I'm doing this. So Again, want to see what else that they did. And what's the importance of knowing what they do? I know that's why I was said too. But I love you, nature, because it's frustrating because you begin to really feel like you can't have love, but it's really you have to give yourself what you're searching for when that keeps happening. It means you're not pouring enough into yourself. See, and that's the thing in this story. This person thought that they were dealing with someone that didn't pour anything into themselves. So this might not be your story of nature. Again, see, this is again the passion. We see passion. We see dry spell. This talks a lot about sex, which we know is the first thing that gets affected, when there's trust issues. And because intimacy is based on that. So this person has major intimacy issues. It's almost like they get into a relationship with you, they no longer like want that with you after a certain amount of time. And then you wind up playing a role that's like anything but, which is what you wouldn't want. Like you would wind up like being like the cook, the chauffeur, the mother, the whatever it was, everything except for the lover, like the relationship, the good aspects that create intimacy get damaged. And that's what we see here. And it's because the person doesn't feel comfortable, and they don't set up a strong foundation within their relationship. And that's because they don't like who they are. Again, and then here it is. I feel like you had expectations because there's a connection there. It's like there really should be, you know, um, if there was a connection of unconditional love, like, hey, you feel like home and I'm attracted to you, you're attracted to me, it should work out. Why wouldn't it work out? And why would you treat me badly? There was an expectation that they were going to treat you nicely, that they were going to be there for you, that they were going to give you what you didn't have. Now, this might be your story, nature. I love nature, because it's like, well, I thought you were going to be there, but you turned into like everybody else. And that would be a karmic loop where it's like, I feel like this keeps happening to me. Relationships are happen over time. That would be understand you also have an intimacy issue. When you keep meeting the same person, and we can apply this to this story because this is a person that as soon as they get into a relationship, they're like within a certain amount of time, maybe it's a month, 2 months, 3 months, that they cap off and then they're already talking to somebody else, whether it's on Instagram, whether it's like just anywhere. And they have like their emotional connection happens with that person, but not the person that they're in the relationship with. This is an intimacy issue. That's a trust issue. So you are always the person, nature, that is like, oh yeah, I can have my fantasy with. You see, I can do dirties with you, like I find you hot to trot your hot tamale. Like, and it's like I'm attracted to you. And so you're then being compartmentalized, which is I'm going to utilize you for this, which is my passion. And then I'm going to utilize this person to help me, and they'll be my friend that I can find in. Then I'm going to use this person for this. Meanwhile, nobody knows that this person is talking to a lot of other people. So this person seems like a normal, strong person, but they're not strong because, again, they have to talk to a lot of different people to get their needs met in order to feel safe. That happens from severe trauma. So you're like, why do I keep attracting that? Well, you're a magnet of who and what comes into your life. So you keep attracting, do you keep attracting people that betray you? Because no one gets into a relationship that says, yeah, I want to be with someone that cheats. Yeah, like please give me someone that's already married. That's what I want, so that I'll never spend any holidays. This person will never emotionally show up for me because they can't, and they'll pretty much just use me for what they can use me for, which is again to like for their fantasy time. Again, because you're going to play that role, where it's all passion and that's it. Like everything's just rosy in the land of passion until it's not, until you find out that you're betrayed, or until this person becomes bored. So that is what winds up happening. And so, like, yeah, like it doesn't matter if it's a girl or a guy, it doesn't matter. It's a second chakra in balance. And it's a second chakra in balance because it's like, I feel like there's something wrong with me because I keep attracting people that betray me. They hurt me. So now I don't trust. So now I can't go with the flow. So now I am going into relationships and I am unconsciously looking for it. I am unconscious and I'm become a little bit paranoid on top of it. This is the behaviorism because I can't relax you know, because now here we are in a relationship. And so what winds up happening? Thank you so much, Delana. Um, yeah, do you understand? So there's this sense of that's the trauma. So as long as you have that trauma, you're unconsciously looking for it. You don't want to look for it. You can't help but to look for it. And it's because the reptilian mind. The reptilian mind is your survival mind. And it says, oh, no, this is important information. We have to seek out anything that's even going to even remotely be in alignment with that person, what that person did. So every time they go to the bathroom, you're going to be running over to that person's phone, like a crazy person. You're going to, again, all these energies, and then you're not realizing that you're manifesting what you don't want to have, what you don't want to happen. And it's because you're abandoning yourself. So that's what happens. So you're putting too much emphasis on the relationship and not enough emphasis on yourself. And so you might say, well, I also get narcissists. So is the person coming in love bombing you, giving you, again, if you're in a desert, you wouldn't know whether or not somebody was phony baloney, because we all have, discernment. That's a spiritual gift that we all are born with. But if you're too close up to the picture, and that's where all your emotional stuff is going, like you're saying, well, this is my passion. The spirit says, no, now you're compartmentalizing. Why is that person? Person says, that person shouldn't be your passion. You should be able to get that passion on your own, because you're not going to train that person right. So there's a disrespect that comes from it, which is betrayal right there. So there's a sense of, I don't believe I can have it because it keeps happening. And spirit says, snap out of it, Alice. It's you. It's like you keep doing it. It's like, get off the karmic cycle. It's like, and that karmic cycle is, I give too much too soon right away. There's parts of me within that second chakra. The first and second chakra work very close together. But unfortunately, if there's a block in that first chakra, all the chakras are in balance. And this is the chakras we want to know, because the chakras represent the psychological and the emotional aspects of yourself, which is spiritual. So anything that's out of alignment with the laws of God, the laws of love, the laws of nature, the laws of the universe, they're all the same thing. Well, you're supposed to be unconditional love, be in alignment with. So when you're not grounded enough, you don't feel safe, you don't trust yourself. There's a sense of all these things that need to be healed within grounded, where we have to start by healing ourselves and giving to ourselves. It means more self-love. A lot of times you say, I always feel like I never get enough emotional support, and I never got it. You might be a highly sensitive person that your family didn't do that for you. So there's a sense of, I am always lacking in that department. I want it and I never get it, and I want it. And Spirit says, well, you see how you really want it? Well, there's again, that's more in alignment with fear and attachment. So you're not going to get it. The universe is going to say, nope, not going to get it. You have to become it. So we look to the second chakra, which is our passion, and that needs to be part of your individuality, who you perceive you are. Right now, you feel you're defective because this keeps happening. And Spirit says, why are you letting somebody else make you feel a certain way about yourself? And you're like, no, because this keeps happening. And Spirit says, well, that keeps happening because you're not doing anything different. So you have to integrate the spiritual lesson of the second chakra, which is, where's the passion part of your life? Whereas, again, and you find that through becoming yourself. That's what it is. The universe is always going to test you. It's always going to bring you what you need. So it's not necessarily test you. It brings you what you need. And when you're not aware of what you need, what happens is it manifests as a karmic lesson that we tend to associate with pain, with limitation, with feeling like there's something wrong with us, or something is not working, or we can't have a place of lack. And the universe says, that's not my energy, and that's not your energy, because I live inside of you as a gift of spirit. So that's definitely not you. You're abundant. And you're like, no, I'm telling you I'm not, because like this keeps happening and I don't trust myself. And Spirit says, so you're doing my job. You don't know how to go with the flow within the universe. And that happens through, again, keeping your focus on what you want to happen, not what you don't want to happen. So the tests and the spiritual blocks happen because, again, there's something that needs to be integrated. Not because that there's something wrong or that you're supposed to suffer. It's like we tend to say, no, you're making me suffer because I'm living this karmic theme, where Spirit's saying, no, it's that. Flighty, again, acting like they don't really care. But when I think I finally found the right one, they are already taken it. Right. So you're reliving the same thing that I Love Nature is living, which is it's betrayal. I consider that betrayal. If I'm dating someone and you're with somebody else, that's betrayal. And so Spirit says relationships happen over time. So where are you meeting people? Is it just through the local bar? Is it where are you going? Because is it through a chat line, a date line? Because all those things lack intimacy. Relationships happen really from when you invest in yourself. Like you have a love affair with yourself and you say, you know what, I really love tango dancing. And every Tuesday I go to do the tango, and I met Mary. She got 2 left feet. She can't dance for shit, but I like her. And so we decided to take up bowling, because now we're dating, and, I just had to tell her. It's, again, relationships happen over time. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. The universe says, you're doing my job. There's a sense of not believing that it can happen. So not really investing, trying to look for someone, instead of, again, getting into the energy of passion, of unconditional love, but by doing what you love. And Spirit says, are you doing what you love? I don't really feel like. And you're like, we go to work, I like my job. And Spirit says, okay, so that's one slice of your pie. Where are the 7 other slices within this pizza? It's like there's slices that are missing. And it looks like you're giving more slices out than you're actually getting, because there's a belief that you don't have. So they're too busy looking, and you're missing the signs because, again, of that fear. So to break that karmic cycle, your friend's sister, she hit me with another YouTube creator, met by chance. My sister's friend, she hit. I don't understand what that meant, but when I think I finally found the one, I just think that, like I said, when we don't invest in ourselves enough, And that can't mean like I go once in a while. It means I really am into what's your hobby? What's your interest? Where do you go weekly? That to again connect on an intimate level with other people. And that doesn't mean you're having sex with everyone. It means, hey, like, I know these relationships are something that happen over time. You share over time, you build a bond over time. When people don't, they come in and they're all again, it's all about the passion, and they're not building that emotional connection, then that's a telltale sign that that person doesn't. And it's not about giving the person more, it's about giving the person less. Right. And that's the problem too. What you'll notice also is exactly what Nina is saying. You'll notice who these people are. It's like they're boring. And you know why, Nina? Because the pastime is that it's about hooking up. And because you only have so many hours in a day and everyone has to work. So what do? You hook up. So you're not investing in yourself. You're not doing anything. You're a chameleon. You become a person for a day, and it's a surface, and you got to know just surface information. You don't need to go that deep because we're going to be talking about sexy time anyway. We're not really going to be talking about anything except for surface stuff, because I won't be sticking around long enough for you to even know me. And that's why I'm saying relationships is something that happen over time. Trust is something that happens over time. So that's why, trust, it's all about that. And there are telltale signs. Being flighty is one way. And when there's persons that just focus on the passion is another way. And then when it started that way, and then all of a sudden it goes to a dry spell and the person needs constant attention, well, it's all right there now, isn't it? And it's all about you feeling undervalued, which I would say would be the spiritual block of like, I always feel like I'm the one that's not. Thank you, Deborah. I think that it's not about anything here except for like the karmic theme. And that's what we have to say here is betrayal. But why is it betrayal? Well, I always feel undervalued. Like someone else always gets picked, And so thank you so much, Brandy. So we have to say, well, nevertheless, we want to know what this person's going to do. Are they going to suffer? Like, there's always a sense that we're like, well, I don't want them to be like skipping off into the sunset. Like if they made me feel undervalued, like, or are they thinking about me? Are they thinking like, what, and why the hell did this happen? Why did I attract this person into my life? Like, because understand what you resist persists. Until you integrate it, you'll continue to live it because you don't do anything different. So it's like, and you're unconscious to it. You're like, I don't know, I just treat people the way I want to be treated. And it's like, and then when I try to like control it, it's either one, that's a second chakra imbalance. It's either I don't do anything or I try to control it. Where spirit says, no, it's about boundaries and being able to have that intuition because you're not so close up to the picture. Excuse me, like that you have discernment. And you get discernment because you have different focuses. Your intuition has time. Most people, if you're so paranoid about it, that's when you miss things. So then there's a sense of not feeling safe, and feeling like not safe is right in alignment with I'm feeling undervalued. It's a real like root chakra imbalance, which usually happens from, I grew up in an environment that I felt undervalued. And that could be, well, my mother had anxiety, so now I inherited anxiety. It could be for 1,000 different things. Collective reading here. So what are they going to do? And how they feel? I feel like this person wants to communicate, believe it or not. It says it right here, communicate, but we'll probably do it through like, again, little breadcrumb. And I say that because they're emotionally not intelligent. So God forbid we show any emotions. You gotta act like I don't care. Um, so that's the trigger for you again, which is like I don't, understand what that is or what that is. Well, that says more about that person than it does about you. But I feel like they are going to, right? They need to get drunk and like, and because it's like I don't feel comfortable. I can't. I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe, Rick Slick. I just don't. However, I'm going to communicate and I'm going to make it known like how I feel. And that's a big friggin' thing for me to like have expression because, when I was vulnerable at one time, that's the second chakra in balance. I was I didn't, I was made to feel bad. So it's easier for me to not like open up. It's easier for me not to communicate about my feelings. And it's also because I'm afraid of rejection. It's like I'm afraid of breaking up. It's like, and I don't like boundaries. It's not you, it's me. I'm really afraid of the end. And because I know that something is always not working because it's always within me, you see? It's like I don't want that. It's like it's all about what might happen. So this is what it means when a person hasn't fully integrated the spiritual lesson. And it's because hey, they keep reliving the same situation. So even though you're not going to do that, Slick Rick, you're not going to do that. Most of the people on here aren't going to do that. It's like obviously I like you, that's why I'm here. So why would do it? This has nothing to do with that. This means that this person hasn't integrated the spiritual lesson. They don't feel safe enough. And when they do feel safe, there's a sense of not respecting, not really, because they go from survival to like one way or the other. And so, I mean, in the beginning, now he's hosting me, ghosting you, not returning text. Well, that's again to build that emotional connection to trigger you with abandonment so that I can come back and then breadcrumb you and give you a lot less, which is usually what happens because that person is like, well, you gave me what I wanted and I see how you live. I see, and that doesn't mean I see how you live and you live horribly, but what that means is it's like I'm the only thing on the menu here. So that's what, where are you going to meet somebody? What are you going to do? And that happened too fast. The relationship happens too fast. People get into relationships too fast. So no, you can't give in. You can't give in because, but it shouldn't be one way or the other because now there's a sense of I'm not giving in this time. Like I'm aggravated and I'm also afraid I might give in. you know, because it's like I really like this person and we do have a connection, but what spirit says it's not one or the other. It's that you're controlling it. It's more about healing that second chakra through losing yourself in what you love to do. Right? See, God makes a way where there is no way just for you by conspiring. The universe is God, by the way, and that universe conspires to bring you everything that you need, not just for healing, but to create yourself. But there needs to be a passion. See, what's happening is you say, again, because there's such a strong spiritual connection, Slick Rick, you're like, this is my passion. I know that it could be good, but this person keeps getting in their own way. They keep sabotaging the connection. Yeah, because it's a deep connection that makes this person feel. And they don't know how to do that without getting drunk. You even admitted that yourself. So you're taking it as rejection all the time when they're this person, and then there's an expectation of you like, well, why can't you do it? It's like, and how come I'm not getting it? Why am I reliving this? There's something wrong with me. Why can't I have it? And Spirit says you can have it. It's about surrendering. That's how we, right now, the relationship's imbalanced because it's, again, there's a cognitive dissonance. I want this person, but they're triggering the shit out of me. So nothing really is going to happen. That means Mexican standstill, And so what you do is you have to surrender to it. And you surrender to being like, I don't care. It's not up to you. It's like, you're going to do what you do. I'm not controlling you. I control myself. So if you are affecting me that much emotionally, it means that I don't have enough other passion in my life. It's like you want to make this person succumb to you. Well, that's not going to be by being like, oh, well, I'll wait for you to come back maybe one day. No, it's about being like, you were gone? I didn't even notice that you were gone because I was having a field day. I have so many opportunities. I'm having a love affair with myself. I'm having a good time because guess what? This person's not having a good time. And this person has abandonment issues. So you'll trigger their abandonment. That's why, again, this person's like, I'm going to do everything to not get abandoned. But really, the truth of the matter is they're doing everything to create abandonment because they have a psychological reversal happening. See, that happens when we have a trauma that just hasn't been healed. It's like it's just been there, and we have been in a karmic loop for long periods of time. So this person has already been in a trauma bond and they're terrified of getting into another one. So every time they feel that deep, they get triggered, which is overstimulated, and then they again get in their own way by overthinking and then thinking they need to control the situation to protect themselves from the perceived threat of which is happening from that past trauma. So they never really heal. They just stay in that karmic cycle. Well, they hide from themselves because it's like they don't know how to fix it. And so what they do is they try to fix the outside. They wear a mask. And that is the shadow part of self. But that's very uncomfortable. Well, what we know is that then that person isn't creating themselves now, aren't they? Because your mind can't be in two places at one time. It's technically impossible. So what we know is that you get into a relationship with this person, be like, there's nothing much here after the passion. Because again, they haven't created themselves. You're their passion. And that neither one, Spirit says, is that works.
Master Psychic Healer Vincent Ward started a live video.
Oh, I don't care. My phone talks every now and again. It's like, shut up. So that's what it is. And it's like that person freezes because they overthink. But that problem then is they have a psychological reversal, which is they do the exact thing to make what they don't want happen. So, which makes them perceive, I can't really have it. So I'm going to protect myself from getting into a relationship. And it's all subconscious. And that happens from living the same types of experiences, like I said, until they got into a trauma bond. The karmic, yeah, but the thing is, you might have learned it, but if you're still connected to this person emotionally, Spirit's saying, you haven't transmuted that energy. So no dice, Slick Rick. You learned it up here, but Spirit's saying, where's the manifestation? What are you doing with the negative energy? You can't just say, oh, it's gone. Spirit says, no. Where's the integration? What did you do with it? It's like the energy is still there. You're a magnet of who and what. Not until you go through the experience, you do something different, and you transmute that negative energy because the emotional energy is still there. And that's really what it is. You always spin me out how accurate you. Thank you, Monica. And that's really what it is. Right, true that. It's like, so it's like the same shit's there. It's like your mind, and spirit says, you are a spiritual being having a human experience. The human experience is the test, but it's all psychological and emotional. Again, and we're raising our consciousness. One day heaven will be on earth through the character of man, when we're always coming from a place of unconditional love, which is hard to do. It's like, because we all don't agree, but spirit says it shouldn't matter. It's like, because when you're healed, someone else's opinion or the way that they choose to live doesn't affect you. You're not like, unless it's hurting someone, where obviously if you're coming from a place of unconditional love, that's not happening. So spirit's saying the consciousness needs to be grounded. It was like, good. I'm so glad, Mr. Wavy TV. That's what it's about, right? It's about awareness, because there's many different realities that play it at one time. Your level of consciousness depends on what you do. So that's why your karma did it come from unconditional love. I'm at a Scorpio standoff with another Scorpio. We are currently not talking, not my decision. Well, I think astro fuck, what you got to do then is, if it's not your decision, it's definitely not, you don't want to beg this person. You don't want to say like if you had said, hey, listen, I want to talk to you about like we can sit down and have a rational conversation and really talk about what our needs are. If you still feel the same way about me that I feel about you, well, if that person's open and willing, then you can sit down. But if they're not, it's not about you sticking around, begging, waiting. It means, okay, you don't want to talk to me, no problem. It means go out, have fun. Because as long as this person sees that you're sitting there, they're like, I'll get to you eventually. And you'll be like, what's going on? This person will be like, any day. And you're like, Mr. Procrastination, what's with that? It's like, now you're making me feel as if, so what it is like, you don't take it as this person's rejecting you, even though obviously you're like, I feel like they are. No, that's probably the relationship. I feel astrofuck is that it's gotten to a place where, hey, we've been together and we have strong feelings. So do I really want to be in this type of serious connection and give you what you want? Or do I want to be free and possibly meet someone else? And it's like, you'd be like, well, why would they look for someone else? Because sometimes in the relationship, like, again, then it's like people are like, well, it happened so fast and I'm going to make like a decision based on, am I really ready for this? It's just the reptilian mind, because everyone has a fear of losing themselves. So it's about you saying like, all right, but it's like, go out and have fun and do and find yourself. And why I say this is because the universe will say, you know what, this person's an ass. They're an ass. And they're an ass because they have a good thing. But you needed for them to surrender their ego anyway, because they were too much of an ass. They were too much of an ass where they got scared. They started to get selfish. They weren't thinking about your feelings anymore. It's so understand what you have to do is you need to put more time into yourself. And then when you do that, the universe also conspires to say, okay, did you give more love to yourself? And you said, well, obviously I did. Even though you're tired, you could say, I did yoga, I joined things that were peaceful, that were relaxing, whatever it is. where whatever it is, I don't care as long as it's consistent, because person will eventually say, did I make a decision? Because they'll try and date other people and they'll compare them. And when there's a real spiritual connection, they're like, okay, I can tell the difference, because people tend to say, I need to like, is this the right, really what it is? Do I want to make this decision for the rest of my life, or that to commit so much time to something? Because listen, the last relationship didn't work out, even though this is a good relationship. There's so many other people. And Mary Sue looked at me the other day when I went to get a cup of coffee. I mean, people all of a sudden like begin to fantasize, and I'm not saying it's right, but most people have detachment issues. Most people have abandonment. By the time that you're 25, you've gone through at least one bad relationship. So understand, it's like it's more about you not caring so much because that person hasn't earned their spot in your life, astrofuck. And if person's making you check, it's not just about having that love affair with yourself, but the universe says, I know that that person needs to surrender their ego. So guess what? They came back after 4 months. After 4 months, and you were pissed off that they took even 4 months. Boy, you were like, how dare you? That really hurt. But guess what? Now you're invested in your life. And this person comes back and they're like, oh, do you want to meet? And you'll say, yeah, but I go to the gun range every Thursday. I like to like practice shooting. I never know who might show up at my house or whatever it is. And then what happens is this person says, well, I can pick you up from that, or I'll swing by. And they happen to swing by and you walk out and there's like 3 guys on your arm. The universe says, I knew that that person was going to show up, and I wanted them to see a different version of yourself. See, again, I helped you because you helped yourself, but you're not helping yourself. Don't stay idle, because what you fear will happen when you invest in yourself, because you have to come from a place of, I already know what I bring to the table. But you also have to show that by what you're showing that person. And the universe always does conspire to show a different version of you. A lot of times spirit will hide really great aspects of you, where people will then project what they perceive about themselves or their fears onto you. And spirit will hide the good aspects, because it's like that person wasn't worthy of being in your life. So they got to see you only from when they had sabotaged the connection. Then, that happens. I don't know why Zoom does that. It's really irritating, the new one. I'm new with tarot and never thought it was true, but you definitely have opened my eyes. I do believe in it now. I know in my heart. I think that it's, again, tarot is real. It's a tool, but I also feel like there's many different ways a situation can play out, right? If you decided to go left instead of right, you'd meet different people, different situations, different experiences. So depending on which way you go, and that would make you do different things. So if you have a higher state of consciousness, you know what to do, you know? Yep, he sabotaged and abandoned me, but we see each other here and there. I think he's ran the minute he knows it was real love. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like people always know, but they will say that they're not ready for it if they met it too soon, or they're like, I just don't want it. I feel like I'm too young. I don't want to. Or they have to compare. And a lot of times we will take it personally, but think of it this way. If I was to say, hey, what's your favorite food, Astro fucking, you said chocolate ice cream. I love chocolate ice cream. I said, well, you get to eat that chocolate ice cream 7 days a week, all day long. That's all the only thing you get to eat is chocolate ice cream. You'd say, well, I wouldn't like chocolate ice cream then. And so Spirit says, well, then you should eat a lot of different foods. And then Spirit, so you says, does that mean that I'm supposed to cheat? And Spirit says, there's many different types of passion in your life. It's like you need to fill yourself up because your mind can't be at two places at one time. Cutting your psychic energy off when a person is saying, I'm not really quite sure that you're the one for me, and hurts you like that, is imperative because if there's a spiritual connection, they can feel that you're already there. You have to cut it, and you cut it by removing yourself and by putting yourself into different situations, by making that person wonder, did they meet somebody? Why don't I feel them anymore? I used to be able to feel them. Are they not there? Funny how when you do something new and enjoy it, it opens the doors for new new revelations and new relationships. And that's really what it is. It's like you are able to open up new doorways, and that allows you to see yourself different too, because that person's make you feel like undervalued when really it's not. And believe me, if it's true love, that person will work themselves back into your life, and they'll be forced to apologize, to surrender the ego. Believe me, most people don't want to do that. Like you said, they'll do everything to avoid it. I don't want to change. If I apologize, that means I'm taking responsibility, and that means I need to come in correct. I don't really know if I want to do that, so understand, right, like you have no plans of leaving anyway because you showed me how much you love me. You show me how much I like you. So it's the gamble that they take. And if you're not interactive in your life, then what'll happen is you'll let the person back in too easily, and then you got a person that comes back and forth into your life where you're like, what the fuck is this? I don't need you coming in, leaving, coming in, leaving. What the hell is that? And it's like, well, it's you become compartmentalized. It's like I still have a connection with you, and still have so much feelings for you. However, you're never going to meet really my friends. You're never really going to be a part of my life. That's the passion part. And the reason why is because I can. Because you're not showing me that you value yourself enough when really it's not. It's like it's not that I don't value myself, it's that I loved you. And Spirit says that person needs to earn it. It's like otherwise it's like eating chocolate ice cream all day long. It's like instead of, hey, that chocolate ice cream's your favorite. So think about eating foods all day long, running around all day long, and then at the end of the night, you just get to have that scoop of chocolate ice cream and sit in front of the TV. Maybe it would be 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, whatever you wind down time. You'd say, I just want to sit in my comfortable chair and eat my scoop of ice cream. Sometimes it would be a big scoop, sometimes it would be a little scoop, but you'd always look forward to that time. And it would be your special time. It's like you're the chocolate ice cream. You need to make yourself like that, where it's like you don't get it all the time. You're not going to get it all the time. You have to feed. And if that person isn't enough invested in their life, it will always be that way because it's codependent. There's pieces of that person that are actually missing, which is making them say, well, I need to find somebody else. I'm not fulfilled. Well, you're not fulfilled because there's other parts of passion. And so like goes to like. You also are missing that. And it's the karmic theme that's played out. Like I have no plans of leaving when really, hello, Actors Podcast, where it's like, no, I feel like it's like you showed that you had feelings for this person. You showed that you were overly loyal. You showed that, there were little telltale signs and things that you wouldn't even know. Because relationships tend to be when a person's insecure, they'll love bomb, they'll come on really fast, And if you are hungry for that because there's no passions in your life, well, you're going to overgive. And so what happened was it was all about that, and it was great and it was wonderful and it was when, but then now all of a sudden the person's unsure. And it's because, well, now that you gave me all that, I gotta like figure out, is this really what I want? Let me see. Where it's like if you made that person work for it, and work for it is not like, it just means I'm not really around all the time. I have other things going on in my life. You don't get the front row matinee special, darling. You get the nosebleeds. They're expensive too. They're a lot more expensive and they're shitty seats. There's a pole right in front of your seating because, like, I don't really know you that well. Um, but over time, and it's not the games, it's that I value my time. It's like I value myself. I value. And when you do that, that person would do that. I'm so glad that they like, it's all about, like I said, integrating. And a lot of us have been taught, well, you want to treat people the way you want to be treated, but we don't realize that we overgive, overdo. And then what happens is the relationship goes too fast. It gets out of balance. So it's real great in the beginning, and then all of a sudden it takes a nosedive. And then there's a sense of abandonment and betrayal. And you were so close up to the picture that you were like, how the hell did that even happen? Why did I even, and it's not, it was mainly just because you were out of balance. See, you can be a really nice person. He has a huge ego, and being an artist makes jewelry. Found out he has a shop as well, and his business name, like, okay, I just want to hop on here and say we're each other's present in each other's childhood traumas. I learned a lot about myself from all this, and I'm not angry at him if he doesn't reach out. Well, I think that's what it's about. It's about, did you learn from it? If you went through the situation and you were able to learn from it and integrate it, well, then the next time it happened, because understand the situation will happen one more time, because you have to transmute the energy, which is go through the experience and see a different outcome. Well, then what winds up happening is you then wind up attracting more people that have a higher vibration, that are more in alignment with what you want instead of the wound. And that's really what it is. It's like, because it's not like, Rena, there wasn't unconditional love. There was. Otherwise, you wouldn't have gotten into that relationship to begin with. And that's the irony of it. When we're like, well, what, the person treated me like shit and I still like them. What the fuck is that? And Spirit says, well, that's unconditional love. That's me. And like, well, why would I love that person? It's like, especially if they treated me that way, how come I can't stop thinking about them? Especially if they treated me that way. Spirit says, you had to integrate the spiritual lesson to break that karmic connection, and then you would see them differently. So part of it is that, and a lot of times too, it's like, because again, the connection was there. It was a karmic connection, so there is unconditional love. That past life karmic is, oh yeah, you feel like home. I assume that you were going to like treat me like home too. And Spirit says, well, actually they did. And you'll say, well, what the hell was that? Is what I wanted home to look like. And Spirit says, yeah, but you didn't grow up in the home that you wanted it to look like. You grew up with certain people and elements that made you feel a certain way, that made you form certain behaviorisms and certain habits for your survival, your psychological, your emotional survival. And what aids us in childhood tends to get in our own way, blocks us. I'm so glad that, again, Actors Podcast, that's really what it is. It's really, you have the power to shape shift your reality. You do. That's the whole thing. Once you have foresight and everyone has discernment. They don't have discernment when you're so close up and are emotionally caught up. Appreciative of this person I chose to help me clue into like all this time. Excited as heck to leave, but also at the place with what was. And I feel like that's what too. Again, you're at peace when you've learned the lesson and you're like, learn the lesson and you no longer have a hold on me. And a lot of times, then that person is left holding the shit bag, the karmic shit bag, being like, now I feel like crap because that person gave me so much and I undervalued them and they're over at the tango lessons, and dancing with a bunch of different people, not thinking about me, where now I feel bad. So it's like where you're like, I didn't even want that. I didn't want to really make that person feel bad. But that's just kind of like what happened because, and the universe says, well, I had to, again, someone had to get the karmic retribution. And it was them because you did what you needed to do. Otherwise, if you didn't, you'd kind of be still eating the karma, which is what you didn't want. So we have to say again, like here it is, like your decision was made and it was fair. It was being judged, but it was again, like, see, like your decision was made and it was like, and that's, I feel like what this person feels. So in that, if they can intuitively feel that, even though there's a connection and they don't have the healing, they're not going to want to be emotionally vulnerable. They're not going to, they'd rather still wear the mask and pretend that there's a lot stronger than they actually are. Act like they don't care. Hide behind the facade. I'm going to pull just for shit and giggles from this other one. Sometimes we could say, again, what does this person secretly feel? And or what kind of connection was this? What the hell were we supposed to learn from this connection? Sometimes it'll tell us, sometimes it won't. As twin flames, we are here to ascend and help each other to do the same. So that doesn't mean that it's all lovey-dovey, darlings. It's not. Twin flame, like they show this love dove, like here, like, oh, they look like they're married. Hello, when they're balanced, maybe. But then you got to think of Sonny and Cher. You got to think of these dynamite connections when they are balanced because they're the other half of the person, but they're not really a half because no one's a half. It's just where that person's blocked, you have gifts and vice versa. So when you come together, you almost make that perfect being. And the art of transmutation is through passion, right? So it's not just passion through sex and through that, but it's also the passion that, you know, through creating something that means something, by doing something together. They could be working on something. It's birthing of something. And again, that's that second chakra, birthing, which is saying, well, again, those parts are in balance due to spiritual blocks that make you perceive that there's something wrong with you. This is why I brought this person. Now, however, you may not be with the twin flame. A lot of people aren't because it's just a difficult relationship. That's why I laugh. I'm like, yeah, they make it all lovey-dovey on this. What you really should have is two people that have their hands around each other's necks. That's what you really should have for a twin flame because they're not thinking the way that you think. You're dealing with someone that's logical and analytical and is afraid to deal with their emotions. And then you're dealing with someone that's really emotional and that is emotionally intelligent. So it's like you're really on Mars and they really are on Venus and vice versa. And you want to kill that person a lot of times. I'm praying you'll come back after everything that's happened between us. I know you won't forgive me and allow me another chance. like that deep inside. So this person is like, they already know, okay, they already know that, I feel like they already know that they sabotaged the connection. But it's like, I still have feelings. And if you notice, I still have feelings, but I hope you come back. I don't really want to come back. So we don't see a surrendering of the ego here. So, and that, I don't like that, because it means that the person has not healed. They haven't done any work. So again, it doesn't mean that they don't have feelings. They would prefer that you come back and be the same sucker that you were before, kind of. Alive, the crosswords I'm at the twin flame joint hand was on each other's neck. That's what I'm saying. That's what it should have on the twin flame card. They make it like, oh, they're all wearing white when they're married. It's like, no, like, no, it's not like that at all. That's for sure. I want yeah, like shake some sense into that person, make you feel, because they're deliberately triggering you. And a lot of times it's like the connection so deep that the person is like, I don't want to feel these emotions, but I'd like to jump right into the passion part. And so let's create that false passion, like we'll get into a big fight and then we'll, like it's a bit not grounded. And you're like, okay, this is not like a 1942 like movie. This is like what's happening in my life. It's like, let's just have a conversation. But again, this person would almost rather create like drama and create all these things to sidetrack you from what it is. Right, that's what it is. Exactly, that's what it is. And healing the shame, especially. But understand what normally comes with shame is a lot of all the other, because we always know that it's about like peeling an onion. You get to one layer and you're like, oh, underneath the guilt was shame, and underneath the, and it really is about forgiving of yourself. And I have to say, yes, forgiving the person that shamed you, that made you feel that way. But a lot of times you can't really heal that person until you transmute the negative energy. Why? Because every time you get triggered, you're going to remember that person. Yeah, like you just feel like you never get to the bottom. However, you're attracting new people. You're attracting people on a higher vibration. So even though you're not getting to the bottom of it, you're not always attracting the same crappy type people that do that stuff, and they can't trigger you the same way that they used to, because you've evolved. You are no longer on that level of consciousness. So that's what it's about. Now, they might still be on that level of consciousness, but if they ate the karma and they inherited that karmic retribution, well, now they don't feel good, and they can't go back to the same way that they were either. See, it's not that easy to go back into fantasy land anymore, because it's like, hey, I already showed you a different reality. Here it is. And then the person's like, no. Well, it's again, that's what it is, because you get to see a different version. This journey is teaching us the most important spiritual lesson. And it says patience here, but I'm going to say forgiveness. And that's because I feel like that's the most important spiritual lesson. Forgiveness. Because it's the hardest one. Because we all have to go through experiences where we forgive. And what happens is like we feel like someone hurt, like ruined ruined us, or ruined something, whether it was the expectation of what you wanted it to be, it's what it was supposed to be. And that means we have to look at ourselves. Right. And it makes you reflect. And that's the whole point. And the emotion is a gateway to spiritual healing. It's like when you say, when you get to it, you're like, oh, it's what this is. 7 years, I'm done with the Aries. Right. And that's the thing. After a certain amount of time, 7 years is a long time. Like, you know what I mean? If that, like, the person's not, people, it's not that people don't change. People have got to want to change. But what helps them change is if they're dealing with someone that deals differently with them. Otherwise they're unconscious to what they're doing. It's the dynamic of the relationship. Like I said, this person's terrified to feel their emotions. They get in their own way. They have the avoidant attachment, which means peace out every time we get through a difficult time. I'm gonna become an ostrich. I'm gonna hide and just like not pretend it's not there, and avoid and completely abandon you. And you're gonna get triggered and not feel supported. And it's the dynamic. And now you have I have an anxious attachment, which is I'm just waiting for you to abandon me. And so the dynamic comes together. And that dynamic is usually created because you watched a codependent relationship. You were like, it's just one parent did everything emotionally, the other person never got emotionally taken care of. And so you inherited that, where you were like, well, I'm not going to play that person. I'm going to be this person. And so you became hyper aware of it. And so it's all unconscious. So you guys even forgive something that cut deep in your soul. We met again after 10 years, and it was nice until I remembered the incident and got so triggered. It is like, that's what I'm saying, unless you heal it. So again, you have to see a different version of yourself. It means that you didn't learn the lesson. It's like you have to learn the spiritual lesson. And then it's also not giving that person the same place. So there was probably still a lot of emotion, feelings. Just because it's 10 years doesn't mean anything, especially if you met the person in a past lifetime. It's like you knew that person from Egyptian times back in the 1800s. It's like you think 10 years means something. It doesn't mean anything. The person still held you in their heart. They still had you in your mind. They might not have thought about you because out of sight, out of mind, because you meet other people and life goes on. However, there was still love. So it means that you didn't learn and integrate the spiritual lesson. You still feel the same way that you felt. So you have to say, how did this person make me feel? It's like, and what did they do to make you feel that way? And then once you're able to do that, you're able to really integrate the lesson. I feel like for you, it was just like they just made me feel like it wasn't like disposable is the best word. Like it wasn't important. And I feel like it was a weird time. It's like for this person, that time that you met them, there's like two, like, and it's possibly because they didn't really 100% finish one thing before they started another, like again. And that happens if a thing doesn't start in the correct space. And that's, so I had attraction to you and I had the best intention, but again, I cut a lot of corners. I didn't really want to do like what I needed to do. That's what I'm saying. He slept with someone after he, right. And that is I'm living by my emotions. I feel like this person was actually in this person's life a little bit before you too. And that's why I'm saying there was a sense of feeling disposable. And that's why where it's like, which sucks because there were, I think, telltale signs. But again, if the person compartmentalizes, you're not seeing it. And then making you feel that way. And so part of it, again, treating this person still with kindness and love. It doesn't mean that you can't be nice, but I feel like, right, like worthless, but like, right. And so you have to say what would make you feel a lot less disposable, making yourself feel more important. And that would not be through picking up another relationship. However, again, it's still that second chakra. I've seen him learn lessons in 3 months, right? That of meeting. So wait a second, this guy still likes a boy to me and 12 years younger than myself as well. And that was the last issue to me. I actually didn't find him physically. I don't understand that, like your thing, but I think that that's what it is, like, for going back to you, Rena, that when a person makes you feel disposable, and then when you run into that person, like, I'm sure you're like, I still wanted to like connect, but you can't go back to the same way that it was. And I feel like you still got triggered because that person didn't really own what they did to you either. And so that's what it is. It's like that wound is still there and you're trying to go back to the same thing, and instead of be like, I think that you should have said something to this person, said, and now that it's 10 years later, you could say it in a way that's not emotional. That's the problem. When things are said emotionally, people tend to not hear it. They don't care. It's what the age that what like, and so that's really what it is. I feel like if you had talked to this person, said, hey, it was great to see you, this and that, and you have things that said, boy, like what you really did, I don't know. Did you ever, like, I feel like you never really took ownership for it. I'm just saying, I was surprised at you. You could say something like, you know, I was really disappointed because I really thought that you had better character and you never really took ownership of how you made me feel. It's like, it's almost like you need to, like, get the closure, like, like, that's what I feel like, to have a closure on something. Otherwise you're left to made to feel as if you did something wrong when you didn't do anything wrong. And that's why, Marina, I feel like it triggered you. It's like, hello, namaste, fitness yoga. um I just feel like that. It's like you can't go back to like being like, hey, it's great to see you, and pick it up and pretend that that wasn't right. And that's what triggered you. And so you're going back into your, situation, and you see him 10 years later. Of course, you're going to be triggered. However, if you learned the lesson and said, okay, well, it's not about me having to have trust issues. I trust myself, because it's not about trusting other people. It's about trusting yourself and building your discernment. And you can only do that by training your nervous system through body mind yoga, breath work, weightlifting, again, to train the breath, to get a better connection to the physical body, to get grounded, and also to make sure that you're balanced. So that means having other passions and joys in your life. Then, when you ran into this person, having this person come into your life and say, I really always thought that you had better character. I don't know if you ever realized what you did. I'm just shocked that you never apologized for it. And it's not because you're going to wait for this person to be like, I want an apology. It's about getting what you need to say off your chest, to say, hey, this, I don't know if you know that, but this is yours. What you did to me is a reflection of you. It's not a reflection of me. What you do, my life is a reflection of me. What you do to me is a reflection of you. And I thought that you were someone that was different. I thought that you were someone, I really gave you a lot more credit than you deserve. I'm surprised. I'm surprised. You really had me fooled. It's like, and say that where that person would then feel sheepish and say, I'm sorry, and own it and be like, well, I guess it's better late than ever. I've forgiven, I've moved on. I just wanted you to know that, this is how I saw you, and this is really the person that I got. And that's, if I would have known that this is really who you are, I probably wouldn't have even bothered with you. But you can say it in a way like where you're just, I'm disappointed in you. It's like, because let me tell you, they have shame anyway to do what they do, and that will activate their shame. And that's really what it is. It's like, but that's why you're like, I'm still triggered. You're still triggered because you're like, well, you never owned it. And I'm still the one that's affected by it. And it's like Spirit says, well, if you learned the lesson already and you saw the telltale signs, then it's not about that. It's about, why did they get the same treatment? They don't deserve that. Nice. Hi, how you doing? I seen you after 10 years. Let's act like you were a nice person when you weren't. It's like, and you didn't know what you did to me, and you didn't know how much I felt. You knew how much I felt for you, and there was no explanation for it, and all of it. Running into your videos was the only thing that helped me. Oh, I'm so glad to see that. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. That's always how the universe, creates the support. So Nina says, I do not want a romantic relationship. I'm only interested in me. I don't have a lot of passion, but still would rather sit in my 9 of Pentacles. I walk. Yeah, it's all about like money, but the truth of the matter is, money is not going to fulfill you emotionally. It's about, I think, learning to open up that heart chakra, which is what happens when we've gotten traumatized, right? I'm going to wind this down soon, but I'll leave it off like this. When we need to integrate the spiritual lesson, we need to integrate that, where it's not about, I'm only just going to work and make money and make money and make money, because that's what you see a lot of people tend to do because money's safe. But it winds up making you still like, again, it would be exhausting, because, and also very out of balance. And so what you do is, I think it's about still connecting to other people, having that open heart chakra, learning about trust, learning about discernment, and not focusing on saying, I need a relationship. But if you're at a high vibration and you're connecting to people, and that can be, if you love to make money, then by doing what you love to make money, but by being out in your community and help, then you meet people. It's like, I think it's all about being balanced. People get into relationships so fast, and then they get bored, or they can't live up to the ghosting, not the ghosting, the love bombing. They come in insecure, they love bomb, and then they don't really care. No one, that's not a normal balance. I wanted to apologize for them. I got a little revenge. I think that that's, like I said, everyone eats their karma eventually. It just depends on who is going to make them eat it. And I think that, like I said, it's all about integrating the spiritual lesson. You can break karmic cycles, but it's like when we say, I'm not going to get into romantic relationships anymore and I'm just going to work, then you're still kind of controlling your life. And that becomes a second chakra imbalance, which everybody tends to be like, I'm still going to need to be in a relationship eventually. And you're not learning, so you're not going to do anything different. So you're going to actually stay in the same exact space as you are now. this is what happens when a lot of people say, I don't trust myself, so I'm not going to date anymore. I'm going to take myself out of the game. They take themselves out of the game for 5 years. They go back to dating and they meet the same type person. The same scenario happens because what you resist persists. Or they wind up completely controlling the relationship and getting something else that they don't want. Where Spirit's saying, you're doing my job. The universe says, you're not allowed to do my job. You do your job. Again, passion for life. Where's your fun? What are you doing? It's like, I will bring you for someone that's in alignment, but there's a lack of trust. And there's a lack of trust of, I don't really know. So which is what winds up happening. So it doesn't mean that if you don't find someone attractive, you can't date them. But if you're really loving on your life, there's only so much time you're able to really discern, is this person giving me what I'm worth? Or my own intuition feels like they should be doing X, Y, and Z. And like I said, they most of the time will do it because you're not around. You think this, you're not staring at them, having expectation. A lot of times it's just the expectation that makes a person that have commitment issues get triggered. So here it is, you're like, I didn't even do anything except for like just try to love this person, but it's like you showed that you have expectation. And in that, it triggered them. So this way, you take less focus on relationship, more focused on feeding yourself emotionally through doing other things. And that might mean that you're missing certain things. Yeah, see, as a control freak yourself, right? That's what I'm saying. Right. That's what I'm saying. That's why you are repeating the same karmic cycle. Exactly what I'm saying, which is like, the needing to control. That's the second chakra imbalance. But, if you followed anyone around all day, you would find stuff, right? We see what we look for. And so that's when we control. And then the person's like, oh, you have too much expectation and like it's not easy. And now it's like, again, triggering them. And then the lack of affection that you had with the father, which is, I don't really know what that feels like. I didn't really have that at a young age. And so there was a trauma, not that you even realized that it was trauma at a young age, but children remember what that felt like. And so that person you identified with love, this person was supposed to, but they didn't make me feel that way. So I know what it feels like to not have it happen. Instead of I had it happen. I know what it feels like to have it happen. So I know what to look for. And I embody that energy. Instead, you're like, no, I'm afraid I'm going to get this energy. So I'm actually embodying the energy that I'm afraid of because that's the only energy that I know of. So Spirit says, that's why you got to do it for yourself. And when you do more shit for yourself, you can't control this person because your mind is not going to be on what they're doing. It's going to be on what you're doing. And yes, that might take a little, again, practice, but if you really love what you're doing, it's not going to be difficult. The issue is that Spirit saying, where's this piece of your individuality? Like who you perceive that you are. There's still a part of you that doesn't believe that you're lovable because of that trauma. And that you see clearly with how that person made you feel. Made me feel like I was disposable, like I wasn't important. And Spirit says, no one can make you feel that way. You're like, no, clearly they made me feel that way by what they did. And Spirit says, but if you were filled yourself up to the brim, you'd be getting attention from a lot of people. And then that person wouldn't really make you feel that way about yourself. You'd say, hey, that's your issue. It's not my issue. I'm over here. Like I'm getting attention. I have fun. My life is a reflection of me. How you treat me is a reflection of you. And if I really look at your life, I actually see that where else it's affecting you, because having a second chakra imbalance over long periods of time, just in your relationship, begins to bleed into other areas of the life with along the second chakra. It's like, because we can't stay just like working part-time. It's like, yeah, we can live out of balance for a certain amount of time, but it's like making your digestion tract work extra hard because your liver doesn't want to work. It's saying, nah, I'm not going to do it today. It's all on you, digestion tract. Your digestion tract would be like, fuck you. We're going to like throw this food up today because it's too much. It's like pick up the load. And where this is a system. Realize how low vibing was calling in relationship. I never, well, and that's the thing. People we don't know, and that's a lot most of the time what it is that we're not aware that we're actually coming from a low vibe because we're not expecting, enough. We're not asking for enough. See, we think a low vibe is someone that's arrogant, that's someone that's a cheater, that's someone that's where spirit's saying, it's again, are you disempowered? Are you not loving yourself? Do you feel that and you're like, I didn't feel that way until this person made me feel this way. And spirit says, I actually brought that person. And you're like, well, why the fuck would you bring me that? And spirit says, because I wanted you to see what you really feel so that you could really dive deep so that you can integrate. Remember, it's a school. You're a spiritual being having a human experience, and it's all about evolving into the highest states of consciousness. And you might say, why the hell do you do that for? And God says, for my glory. We wouldn't have a relationship. You wouldn't know the difference. You have to see support. Support happens from me working through you, me working through your environment to bring you people, situations, and experiences. But you need to be in alignment with, again, the laws of God, the laws of love, the laws of nature, the laws of the universe. We're all the same thing. And we can do that by going with the flow of life through our own passions, our own unique individualities. We're able to set the appropriate boundaries because we're not controlling it. How are you not controlling it, Raina? You may ask yourself. Well, I'm not controlling it because listen, I had horseback riding on Monday and Wednesday. I had tango lessons on Tuesday, and I work the other days, and it's like, and I'm tired, and I need time for myself. And then I have to hang out with my girlfriends, and then and I volunteer down at this place. So it's again, this person isn't getting that much. They have to work for it a little bit. It's not, it's you're setting the boundary without meaning to really, I'm not setting boundaries, but it's like I have a life. I have a life. So I'm showing this person I have things to do. I'm important. I'm showing this person that I have other options. Did you see basket weaving? Did you see Harry? He's had a crush on me for about 3 years. You could probably tell, right? Yeah, how he walked me out. I might not tell that person, but the person would again notice. They notice because hey, they see you having other conversations. That person it could get just as triggered again way of jealousy the same way that you do when meanwhile you're like, I'm not trying to make that person jealous, but I can't help the fact that Bobby has a crush on me. I love the class that I take, and I'm not going to quit, and I become friends with him. It's like he's a nice guy, but I'm not interested. Well, spirit will utilize that person, trust me, to make that new person. Why? You say, well, that person wouldn't see him while you're dating. They might pick you up from that location, may pick you up. They might swing by early. You don't know. Spirit knows, says, oh, I know. Trust me, I know where that person's going to be and where you're going to be. And if I know that there is unconditional love, but there's blocks, I'm going to make that person surrender their ego. They're going to get weak. I'm going to make something happen for you. And that's going to really flip the piss out of this person because they're not going to want you to have good things happen because then you're going to move on, meet somebody else, and they don't rather stay in this funky limbo and still energetically hold on to you and still give you nothing. So that's why I'm saying it's like you have more power. So as a control freak yourself, oh, so like, what is this, father? So it effectively affected your relationship with because I also think like that's the whole thing to integrate. that God consciousness. And that's just through getting into the place of unconditional love by doing what you love. Because when you invest more in yourself, you're actually reparenting, because you always have to reparent the inner childhood wound. And it was, I didn't get enough love from my parents, from my father. I didn't see that. So Spirit says you actually have to now do it for yourself. And that would be by doing grounded things. And that's by just hitting the pavement and saying, what is that? I want to take a holistic health course. I like spirituality. I like these things. Let me take a class. Let me see what's free. Let me go on Facebook. Let me go on to see what's going on in my community. Spirit's saying, don't just do things online, but utilize what's in your environment to help you get there. You got to utilize imperfect, like nothing's perfect. Only I'm perfect, God says. So you're utilizing imperfect things that are available to you in order to really integrate the spiritual lesson. And it's not utilizing one thing. And the more that you are interactive, the more that your intuition then will guide you, and the more that grounded that you are, the more that you'll be led by your gut intuition, giving and receiving of love. Your third eye begins to open up. You're like, I could see how I would get that opportunity. I would see how that can happen because this happened. And then you get claircognizance, which is, I don't know how I just knew that. I just knew. It's like I just knew it. The Spirit says yes, because you were in alignment. Hey, Greg Brown. It's shocking to realize how we're vibing. Okay, and this is good God, good. Give him a taste of his own medicine. Him and I literally the same. We realized that went through the same life events from child. Well, that's what I'm saying. The twin flame relationship is you've gone through the same exact experiences. Now, it could be I grew up in an alcoholic family. This person grew up in an alcoholic family. The person grew up with a mother that was controlling. They might have grown up with a father that was controlling. Same types of family dynamic. But the way that that person learned how to survive was through very logic, analytical. And the way that you learned is through, again, connecting emotionally with people. So the languages are different. And Spirit says neither one of you are all right. Both of you guys are in balance. I need you both to be on the 8th floor. There's 16 floors, and you're in the basement, and he's in on the penthouse. He was like, neither one of you guys are correct. It's like, I need you to compromise. I'm not going to compromise. I don't compromise. Who compromises? That's a trigger for me. You see, that person is, I don't feel safe. And Spirit will say, it's again, healing doesn't feel good. So I'm going to make you want to do it through another means. Problem is, we tend to overcompensate, and then you're giving too much. And then, like I said, it becomes a problem. So, like I said, it's about finding your balance, and we can't find it by trying to strategize. This is something that's more intuitive, and it only happens when you're embodying it. And that's why the universe listens to that language, doesn't listen to like anything else. And clairaudient, those high pitched sounds, I feel like a lot of people are going through these energetic shifts right now because we're moving into higher states of consciousness. Even though you might say, I don't know, the world is crazy, there was a lot of problems. And so we have to purge out those problems before we actually can heal. It's like anything else. So the key is to heal yourself and become that magnet, to be the example, right? How can we influence other people? Told me he is an introvert and introvert extrovert. Well, I think again that introvert is somebody that's very logical and tends to be very analytical and can be an overthinker. And, you know, I think that intuitively, and it doesn't mean that you can have two people that are highly sensitive, but one is more left brain and the other one is right brained, is the best way that I could say it. So their approach is going to be different, which is going to be triggering. It's like, well, if I was going to do that, I would have, made sure. And what you'll see is I would make sure emotionally this person, all things that you find important, where this person is analytical and they don't really take those things into consideration. So you're like, hey, there's nothing fucking here, man. It's like there's nothing on my plate, like emotionally. And they're like, give you a breadcrumb. There you go. That's all you need. Have a beer. This way you don't have to feel anything. Where the spirit says, no, it's not that way, and it's not that way. Find your balance so you can go with the flow instead of trying to control this person. Because the trigger, it's like, oh no. It's like instead surrender to it, be like, okay, that's the way you feel. I'm not going to control it. I'm going to control me. Because what that person will be like is, I still have feelings. And I don't really want to have feelings because the relationship is difficult. But if you're surrendering, the way that what you're saying is, I don't really care. And then that person's like, well, I needed you to care because if we could at least form an attachment, then you won't go anywhere and I don't have to do anything, you see? So I have to have you care. And you're like, nope, not happening because I'm going square dancing with Fred Tuesday or whatever it is. It's like, I'm not going to sit around here and form an attachment where you're just draining me. I'm not doing that. It's like, and that's what it is. Right. It's like about controlling your energy without demanding. See, most people say, let's talk about the relationship. The moment that you have to say, let's talk about the connection, you're in trouble because the person already has heard this before in other relationships. You are not the first person that has told this person whatever you're telling them. People are creatures of habit. So you have to create the other dynamic. So you're like, well, if this is what it is, and I'm feeling like they're not doing it for me, well, I need to, again, not really say anything to them, do it for myself. Then you're like, well, then what the fuck do I need them for? Well, then Spirit says, well, if there really is love there, that person's going to be like, they know that they weren't doing it. And what you're saying is, those breadcrumbs that you gave me, they were real tasty. But I was hungry. I was famished still after I ate all three of them. But, Bob over there, Sarah over there, they invited me to the buffet, the all-you-can-eat buffet. So I don't need your breadcrumbs. I'm actually having the steak over there, the surf and turf. I'm having the spaghetti. I'm having the sushi. I'm having it all. It's like I'm going to make a pig out of myself. And I'm having a good old time with myself. And you can sit there and take your three little breadcrumbs back because you must be hungry yourself because you're very selfish. You're eating all the good stuff yourself. You're not leaving me anything except for these three little fucking breadcrumbs. So I'm going to be over at the buffet table. So now you look like an asshole because you're sitting there with your three breadcrumbs and you know goddamn well that's all that you were giving me was that. I didn't need to tell you that that's what you were giving me and we needed to have a conversation about what you should have been giving me. It's like that person already knows. And you know what you say? When you say, let's talk about the relationship, what you're saying is, I really care about you so much. It really bothers me about these three breadcrumbs. And that person is like, oh, you have expectation, do you? And you were telling me about this because you really like me. I'm not going to give you what you want. And then you're like, well, why wouldn't you do that if you like me? Well, I can figure out if I really actually have to do that. And that is when you're like, well, what the hell is that? It's like, that makes me feel, and Spirit says, that shouldn't be able to make you feel anyway. That person's a jerk. And that's what it is. It's like they're going to hand you something that they know is not, that no one in their right mind would think is fair, nice. And the moment that you have to talk about it is the moment that it becomes a problem. So you don't even need to talk about it. What you need to do right then and there is detach. It's best if you don't say anything. Because guess what? That cocky person will still be like, oh, yeah, I'm holding back. I'm holding back. I'm holding back. Are they? They're dating somebody else. Are they dating somebody else? And where were you? I was holding back. I thought that they were going to come running for me. And that's really what it is. It's like where that person then, where you're like that. Where it's like, I showed you a different side. Don't make my mistake of being empathetic as being weak. You've mistaken me. It's like for my kindness for weakness. You're not very intelligent. Again, there's many a person that's very empathetic. They're the strongest people in the world. Crazy how I can see both how me and her have points where it's both fitting that you stating. Yeah, and I feel like because you can see how the dynamic would only work through what you're doing and what this person is doing. It can't just be one-sided. That's what makes it karmic, because it's like the dynamic wouldn't work. So once you do something different, you change the dynamic of it, and a lot of times that breaks that karmic connection where you're like, I was really crazy about this person. And then you ever notice how you're really crazy about the person and then you learn a lesson, you really see them, the mask falls off, and you're like, what the hell was I thinking? It's like dating somebody and then looking back at them a few years later and be like, what the hell was I wearing beer goggles with? Who was that invaded my body while I was invested in that person? And that's really what it is. So many people do that, which, right. And it's about always looking at the character and how the person treats it. The person always talking about other people, and you can see how they treat themselves. What are they doing in their pastime? It's not, becoming somebody else, wanting. A lot of times we see someone and we're like, I really want you to be this person. And it's like, it can't be. Kills me that 30 people have come together and are having a shared experience. Right, right. And that's really what it is. Everyone resonates, and it's a scary thing because it's like there's that many people out there that are like living the same. I mean, this isn't a great scenario here that we're all living. And that is what's changing consciousness. See, the consciousness is of good against evil, light against dark. And what we're talking about is really the shadows is what creates the darkness. No one's made to be dark. No one wants to say, let me be dark. People will say that they do, but no one wants the experiences that come with being dark. Just pain and suffering comes with being dark. We want to be always coming from a place of love, like of unconditional love, because that's a place of being less resistance, but being in a really high vibration and abundance of relationship. And that's hard, but the way that you do it is by really becoming it and integrating it, and the relationships that you see are all there to help you, to heal you, to help you evolve. And the bad ones help you actually more than the good ones most of the time, because you're not even aware. Because we are right, and that's, you're breaking through the collective. You're changing generations, because when you change, birds of a feather flock together. People learn, people see. You create awareness, because people they're not aware. There's a lot of people are not. It's not because they're asleep. Oh, you're so asleep. It's like, no, it's because with work and all the responsibilities and living in stress and all the other things that are happening, we tend to just be in survival mode most of the time. But that's coming from a place of fear, and you have to get to a place of unconditional love. Right. And that's the thing. That's the truth. It's like seeing how people treat themselves. It's like whether it's a guy, whether it's a girl, there's always the telltale sign. Always see what are these people doing in their pastime. If it's just being on social media and not really investing in themselves, it's not. But I find when you have invested in yourself and you are interactive in what you do, you might meet people in what you do, but a lot of times you'll be like, I was on the way there, I met this person on the way back, or I met this person through this person, and you're not, it's like the relationship just jives a lot better instead of still just meeting someone random. Now, is it all the time? No, but you cut down at least 5%, of just stragglers. Then it's about having the discernment. And it's always about giving yourself more. It's like saying, because what you're doing is you're consciously, unconsciously showing that person, this is how I treat myself. You need to hold to this standard. And most people don't. They're more conscious of saying, I want to be there for you. And a lot of times people will come into the relationship and they automatically set it up that way right from the get-go, and where you're like, I don't even know how we wound up like playing these roles, that where the person just is like, well, I came in that way. And that's why I say, well, guys, I was on for like 2 hours. I hope that everyone got a little something from that. That was a little bit of card reading, a little bit of just freestyle. If you guys are interested in healing more, I do have a wonderful healing coaching program where we do shadow healing, we do inner child healing, shadow healing, reparenting, and we do all the healing modalities for healing trauma. We always open up with the trigger of the week, and everyone shares the trigger of the week. And we learn from each other. We do oracle spreads and stuff like that. It makes shadow healing fun, because in order to do shadow healing, you have to be consistent. In order to heal the effects of trauma, when you might say, what is an effect of trauma? Anxiety and depression, not being able to stay grounded, not being able to shut the mind chatter off. All those things are just to name a few. I won't go on, but there's a lot of things that happen. And remember, your body is your mind's faithful servant. So you're continually conditioning it. So you have to recondition the nervous system when you live in survival mode. And that's not a one and done thing. That happens over time. So if you're someone that's just, I'm just reactionary, person triggered me, I just flipped them off. I thought about it after. It's like reactionary behavior is sabotaging behaviorism, because what winds up happening is, if we don't integrate, we tend to always react the same way, and you're not in the same situations. If you handle something different, you get a different outcome. And that's what it's all about. Thank you, Mr. Wavy TV. I try to. I'm just a representative for God. That's always what I say. I'm just a representative. I'm not God. I just work for him. And I don't get paid that much either. I was like, you're not really that good. No offense. Like with other things, every person starts off as a disaster before they're a master. It's just the way that it goes. It's like, and that we're in a constant state of evolving. Even when we don't want to evolve, the universe conspires to make that happen. It just needs to be easy. I'm so glad that you guys stayed on with me. Thank you. Thank you. I really do appreciate you. And I thank you for all your prayers and your wishes and your, I always say wishes, but it's really your prayers and your good vibes that helped me through, my husband being in hospice. That was some crazy ass shit. I mean, I saw the last stage of death. I saw it. It's like I never experienced it before. It was such a profound experience. there's something called the death rattle that a person goes through that, if they don't warn you about it, you'll be like, what the hell is going on? It's like, I saw, like my husband was in denial how sick he was. He didn't want to know. And we were able to really keep him in this like state for a long time. We went to uh, the Hard Rock Casino 2 months ago when meanwhile he had bladder cancer and lymphoma and he had so many things, but he was still going, just riding the scooter and doing his thing. And what wound up happening is it's like within like 10 days he had a decline, and but we exceeded that time. And but right before he died, while he went into that last phase of death, he woke up and he said, I'm really scared. I'm really scared. And I said, no, because I said he didn't want to know. So I said, you just have a little bug. And he said, I don't have a little bug. There's something wrong. And I was like, no, no, it's okay. You just haven't slept. And this, not meanwhile, it was really sick. And he said, I'm gonna miss you. He said, I really love you. And I'm gonna miss you. And he fell into a sleep and he never woke up again. And it was like, wow, we hit it. You really didn't know for so long because he didn't want to. He really wanted to live. And just within that 10 days, it was like spirit was like told him, and he woke up from that second, almost like spirit saying, you're coming home now. And the death rattle is when the body temperature drops. It goes down to, because the low blood pressure and everything's shutting down, and now the person can't swallow. And it's not that they can't breathe, they're comfortable. It's just the mucus and the saliva and the stuff is collecting in the throat, and now the breathing is through that, and it sounds like and the person is shaking. So that's why they call it a death rattle. The person's shaking, and then their hands, and sometimes they get delirium and they start to do this, and where their person's already crossing half over and half. And so that person can still hear you as they are crossing over. That's the last sense to go. The last sense. And I knew intuitively. I was on my other channel and I was having a breakdown, and I was screaming, I love you, 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 you know, and I know he heard that. And so, it was such a profound experience. And even though people are like, oh, I would never want to like do it, it's like sickness is such a hard thing, but it was such a beautiful experience, and I was so grateful to have it. I'm, I'm very sad. I think about it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sorry. It was such an amazing experience, but you know, uh, you just it's life, and it's so profound, and it's so but you do so much, but you still look back and say, should I did this? Should I have done that? Should I have done this? But down deep inside, you say, it's it was the way that it was supposed to be. And at the end of the day, everybody, like everybody in this situation, me and my husband knew that we loved each other unconditionally. And so that is what's profound, that you're like, wow, like we got through that and we really made the best of it. 20 years, imagine that. So I want to thank everybody for being here and supporting me and supporting this channel and listening to my craziness and letting me show up. I look like a hot fucking mess today. And just sharing the time with me tonight and keeping my head busy because, I used to watch TV at nighttime. And I mean, even though it was never anything that special, you have your time. And that's really changing patterns, transitioning, and that's that phone put footprints where spirit says my footprints through your passion, and this is my passion to share my gifts with you guys and to help you guys heal so that you can create the life and the life experiences that you want to have. Because I know that I did. I would have never been with my husband. I was a bad hairdresser. I lied and I met a man that owned 9 hair salons, and he thought he was something, boy, and he was like, I could teach anybody how to cut hair. I own hair salons everywhere. I still didn't know how to cut hair because psychically you cannot figure out how to cut hair. You actually need to use the left part of your brain, and I don't like to use the left part of my brain. I only like to do things intuitively. So he's like, you started over there, and then you skip over there, and then you go over there. It all comes together, kind of, but it's crazy. So, it's again, spirit used the hairdressing to bring me to my husband. So understand sometimes whatever you're doing, you might say, I don't really know why I'm even here, but you're meeting people and situations and experiences that are all helping you to grow or a part of your story. Thank you again. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Sean and Monica and Greg and Gina and Mr. Wavy TV. I really appreciate all of you guys and everybody else that has been on tonight. I'm going to run, though. I love you all. And thank you for letting me share. And I promise not to cry every time I'm on. And I'll definitely look better the next time I'm on. I'll talk to you guys soon. Mwah.